This is Jack Lockjaw, and this is my review of Final Fantasy XV. I want to start off by saying that it took me a long time to make this video. I was going to review this the weekend that the game came out, but I made the decision to complete the game before attempting to review it. I didn't watch Kingsglaive, the movie, and I didn't watch Brotherhood, and I wanted to say for certain if this made the game too fragmented for people going into it blindly. While I do feel like the storyline is missing some details and a bit of closure in some areas, I didn't find it overall hard to follow. I put almost 80 hours into this game, and I did almost everything there is to do. I was severely over-leveled for the main story as it progressed, and I got the Platinum Trophy without too much effort. My experience with this game is more thorough than I think most people will attempt, but I didn't quite reach the heights of those who will consume every last morsel. But I feel like it did give me a bit of insight into the question that I like to ask, which is, who is this game for? First off, the game states upon booting it up that this is a Final Fantasy for fans and first-timers. As someone who played through roughly half of the games, Final Fantasy 1, 2, which is actually 4, 3, which is actually 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 13-2, 13 Lightning returns for about 15 minutes, Final Fantasy Tactics, A World of Final Fantasy, Chocobo Dungeon, and Chocobo Racing, Error Guys, whatever. I've consumed a lot of Final Fantasy over the years. In spite of the actual gameplay being so different from a typical Final Fantasy game, this still has the overall feel of existing in a Final Fantasy universe. The style of the world is more reminiscent of Final Fantasy 6, 7, and 8 than it does of 4, 9, or 10. There's a lot of technology that's mixed in with magic and fantasy elements. There are many Easter eggs to be had, whether they're straight up monster cameos or just sharing a common namesake with something else in the series. Personally, I had my own Final Fantasy geek out moment when I saw a Dragoon jump performed in the game for the first time. The game is just packed with small stuff like that. If you're not as familiar with the franchise, these moments will just wash over you as part of the game, but they're there for you to enjoy whether or not you know their origin. Being able to listen to the soundtracks of the previous games in the car is a really nice touch though. Ultimately, this game is about the characters. While you do meet some side characters along the way, don't expect too much of a payoff with them. I felt that the game sowed a lot of seeds, but was only interested in growing 4 trees, namely the party that you're in direct control of. Your mileage may vary with this group. This game breaks the Final Fantasy structure of accumulating allies as the story progresses. Instead, you get the same 4 members from start to finish. There's been a lot of mocking of these characters, from hinting to them being a boy band to making fun of the notion of homosexual chemistry. Regardless of all that, this game tries a different approach to character development. Instead of giving everyone a series of moments that define them, it makes you spend all your time with them and you see them at their most mundane. Through sitting around in the car, to cooking meals for each other, taking photographs, and the overall banter, this game wants you to get the sense of who these people are by showing them at their dorkiest. The main drawback is that as much time as you spend running around, the dialogue will repeat ad nauseum.
Oh, nice here.
Makes me want to take a nap.
Oh, nice here.
Yeah.
The structure of the game itself is for people who can endure repetitive tasks. This is an open world game, and as such, it suffers from the same issues, or non-issues depending on your perspective, that typical open world games do. There are many missions to do, but most of them require you to pick up a quest, run out, kill something, and then come back and turn the quest in. Since combat is the hammer that you're given to work with, they give you many nails. The world actually didn't seem big at first, but it's big, especially when you consider how fast you travel. As you may have heard, much of the game's content is front-loaded, meaning that nearly everything to do in the game is presented for your pleasure right at the beginning. You do have to complete some story quests to unlock the second part of the map, but more or less you're given ample time to run around and complete side tasks. I personally did not feel as engaged with these side missions because they felt disconnected from the rest of the game. And while the rewards for sticking with these quests can be good, they don't feel like they tie into story or character development. They're simply just there for you to do. Because of this, I would say this game is for people who can leave things undone. This game has a lot of content. The map is littered with icons that beg you to dismount your chocobo and scrounge around for little resources. Every tipster has a handful of stronger than average enemies to kill for money and items, and the storyline will sit there and wait patiently for you to do all of this. But personally, I felt disengaged with much of this content. I enjoyed the exploration of new dungeons and stumbling across new enemy types, but the hunts were so mind-numbingly dull that I had to take a break from this game partway through. There is a mechanic they implemented that once you progress in the story, you can quote-unquote time travel back to the previous area to do more stuff, especially if you feel like you might need to grind out some quests to level up. But if you're the kind of person that needs to clear out your whole quest docket to progress, you might find yourself in a nearly infinite regression. Ultimately, this game is great for those that want to be shown an incredible spectacle. The visuals are fantastic, the world almost always looks great, and there are times when the combat situations genuinely do have epic moments. As the storyline progresses, the game gets increasingly focused around set pieces. Some of these were pretty fantastically orchestrated, and I was right back into the moment and excited to see what happened next. Overall, I liked this game. It has flaws for sure, but it's always been my philosophy that just because you like something doesn't mean it's perfect, and just because something isn't perfect doesn't mean you can't like it. Some parts of this game really dragged for me, and I did encounter a couple of glitches while playing the game, but nothing that really damaged my overall perception of the game. Final Fantasy XV is not for everyone, and my hope is that by talking about this game, you can decide not only whether or not you want to play it, but how you play it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm sorry this one took a lot of extra time, but in this case I really wanted to thoroughly play this game so that way I'd have a good grasp on what my recommendations were, and I definitely think that was a good call because my perception of it changed the more I played it and then by the time I finished it. And as always, you can find me on Twitter under Jack Lockjaw. On occasion you can find me on Twitch also under Jack Lockjaw, and you can send me an email at corruptsavemail@gmail.com. Please like this video, share it if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel. And please leave a comment in this video. I would love to hear about what you thought about this game, what you thought worked, and what you thought didn't work. Thanks for watching.
You know something? Going through all that trouble to make our own custom cup, it's made me appreciate cup noodles even more.
Perhaps we truly can't improve upon perfection.
It's not about finding the single best ingredient. It's about crafting that perfect blend of meat, egg, and shrimp. That harmony of flavors is key.
Yeah, you're right. Makes you appreciate how delicious these noodles really are.
I know I sure do.